It's all right. I knew there was at least one. They were over there telling people about the show already.
How we feeling for him? Yeah. So I'm Owen. I go by Obakey. This is Teddy. They go by Shmoo. We have a show coming up on Friday. It's called Upper Circle at the Lower Line. It's going to be at 624 Lower Line Street. It's like the corner of St. Charles and Lower Line. And we're going to have a bunch of great bands. We're going to have, I'm playing with a couple members of Shmoo and a couple members of Sweetheart as Obakey in the gallery. Shmoo's playing a set. We're going to have Sympathy Wizard playing a set. We're going to have Sweetheart. And we're going to have Smooth Cat and the Ninth Life from Baton Rouge. So, yeah, 624 Lower Line Street, Friday at 5. Please come out.
So wait, I have a question. Is Shmoo a band or is Shmoo just Teddy? Okay, so it's both. It's both Teddy and a band. Okay, I'm just trying to make sure I got it straight. Cool.
Good stuff. I have an announcement. Hi everyone, I'm Mia, and I have a show this Saturday. It's acoustic and it's at a bookstore, which will be really fun. And it's with Lila and Frankie and Isabel. And it's like 4 acoustic sets. It's going to be really fun. It's at Baldwin & Co., which is the bookstore. And I believe music starts at noon on Saturday. So yeah, it'll be a really fun, chill thing to do on a Saturday.
Where's the bookstore?
I think it's near downtown.
It's on Elysian Fields, right off of St. Claude. Sorry, I figured y'all maybe didn't know where that was. It is a very cool bookstore, so go hear them. It'll make you feel smart while you listen to music. And, you know, we're all college students. We're supposed to feel smart. Any other announcements? Anyone? Okay, a little bit of just forum bookkeeping. I am way behind on putting up quizzes. Don't sweat it. Everything will be okay. I'll get that fixed. You know how that goes. Cool. So we have, I'm going to take this off so I can talk to you. I sound better like that. I might not look better, but I sound better. Thank you. We've got a great guest today, and we're going to talk about some things that are maybe things that some of you haven't considered as possible paths in your future, or maybe just this sort of stuff can be a part of the equation that becomes your career. Today our guest is from SeeHear Productions, and he's their Chief Operations Officer. Did I get that right? Please welcome Tony Corley. I don't know if I need to be that dark, Kyle. I mean, I definitely look better in the dark. There we go. Welcome, Tony. How are you?
Thank you. Fine.
So we've got you'll see some things going behind him. These are some of the productions that they do. Give our audience a little short version of what you guys do at SeeHear.
Okay. First of all, thanks for having me. I appreciate you taking the time to come out and say hello. SeeHear Productions is a special event production company. We're based out of Covington, Louisiana. It's right across the lake, Lake Pontchartrain, out on Highway 36, right down from the Abita Brewing Company, which makes Friday afternoons a lot of fun for our crew. So we do special events all over the nation, and we are looking at some opportunities internationally as well. Special events being mostly high-end weddings and social type events and corporate events. SeeHear does not have a niche in festival production or large rock and roll type or touring productions. We are mostly a semi-regional to national special events company.
But you do the famous people performing at the branded corporate event, just not the famous people performing at the rock concert.
Yes, that's right. We do. We do interact with national talent on a regular basis, and the environment in which we interact with them are weddings, parties. We recently had Toby Keith at a wedding reception, Luke Combs wedding reception, David Blaine birthday party. So
I thought the band at my wedding was
Michael
expensive.
Bublé
I didn't even
birthday
try
party.
to get Toby Keith.
Yeah.
So do y'all book the talent?
No.
So that'll come from.
Yeah, talent, right, booking agents book the talent.
So we're having $1 million wedding at my rich friend's backyard.
Mm-hmm.
How much of that does SeeHear take care of? How much of it can I say, Tony, I want you to do all of this?
On a $1 million wedding, our scope would typically be anywhere from $150,000 to $300,000, depending on what it is that we're doing. In terms of money, what the ticket would be. In terms of what we do, some of the things that you're seeing up behind you with the lighting and the custom flooring and custom ceiling elements, custom lighting, all of that kind of stuff, the LED walls, those are the things that we do. We have a design group that designs the look of the event. We have a fabrication department that actually custom builds. We have CNC machines and a staff of carpenters and woodworkers. We have people that do vinyl. We have people that do neon signs, all sorts of stuff. So we'll do that. And then we'll come in and we'll handle the technical side of the production, which is sound and lighting for the talent or for whatever the programming is.
Right. How many of the people who work on your sound and lighting team got in because they were mixing a rock band when they were in college?
Most of them.
Yeah, pretty much everybody.
Yeah.
So your ticket to I have a real job and bought a house in the suburbs might be this sort of stuff. What was your path that led you to like large scale corporate or event production? I guess it's not all corporate.
Circuitous at best, and I think that's pretty common for folks that are in this industry. Because as we were discussing before, I mean, the pathways through the music industry are many. There are a lot of ways to get from point A to point B, and fortunately there's a creative side of that as well, so creativity can come into it, as well as you form up your own pathway through the music industry. I started running sound when I was 13 years old in church in North Carolina. That's how I started. Stayed with it all the way through high school, started getting into the rock band, same thing into college, kept on with church audio, kept going with rock and roll bands in college and things like that. Got out of school, attempted to go out into the real world, when I graduate from college, get a job, go be a good boy. And
yeah, that's no fun.
yeah, it was very boring. So I went out and I did that. Wound up going back to school. All this time now, staying with doing audio on the side, right? Kind of at that point as a hobby. Wound up getting an electrical engineering degree from LSU. Wound up working in high voltage power as an engineer. Worked in nuclear power as an electrical engineer. And then one day I said, you know what? I'm either going to go to grad school or I'm going to go buy a sound system and start having some fun. And so my wife and I decided the sound system was the route. So that's what we did, bought a sound system, did it bivocationally, bivocationally for several years, and then decided I had to try it out on my own. So I went out on my own as an entrepreneur, started up my own company from my garage, basically.
What sort of gigs were you doing then? Early on in like your sound company, what sort of stuff was it?
Rock and roll bands and bars. Yeah, that was pretty much it. As we grew a little bit, we got to know some of the talent artists or talent booking agents around New Orleans, and we got to know some of the festival producers around New Orleans, and that gave us some opportunities to get into some festival and fair situations. We did a couple of stages for many years at Hogs for the Cause as that audio company, and We did other fairs and festivals around town, and then we started getting into wedding bands, working at weddings and providing sound and lighting for the bands that were going to play at those weddings.
That's how I first became aware that there were companies that did this. Was when I was in college. I was playing in a wedding band, and like the same guys would show up with the really nice monitors every week.
Right.
I'm like, man, this stuff sounds great. How do you guys afford the PA? I asked the band leader. He's like, oh no, it's not ours. We just, each thing has a budget for propaganda or whoever it was at the time.
Yeah.
So how did that transition to larger stuff?
Well, it was really all about connections. And I mean, you have to be out networking as a business person, as an entrepreneur. You must stay out on the street looking for more connections, looking for people promoting your business. Similar to the folks that came up earlier to promote their shows. I mean, that's what you have to do. And look, it takes courage to get up there. So just, props to those people who came up and said, hey, I'm going to be doing a show this weekend. Come see it. Because it takes courage to get up there and say, come and interact with us, or come and do business with us. But networking, you have to stay out there on the street. You have to promote your business. You have to send emails, hundreds, thousands. You have to stay engaged with the people who are in your business. And every time you get an opportunity to meet a new one, you have to take it. You have to take opportunities like this to come and talk to people at large. And that was the key to getting us some opportunities. A lot of begging. Please give us a try, God. How am I going to put the gas in the truck next week? I mean, those are real questions, and that's how you have to do it.
What if you had a piece of advice for someone trying to build a business like that? What was the thing that you tried to do consistently that you feel like kept you working? Like once you got the first gig, what was the thing that got you called back?
Well, I believe that the thing that gets you called back in any situation is the degree of, or the level of customer service that you provide to your end client. Our viewpoint as an audio company was that whenever we went out on a job, we had two clients. One client was the client, the person who was writing our check. But we also had a deep commitment to the local music scene here in New Orleans. And so we were adamant that we were going to provide not only good service to our client, which to them looks like park the truck in the right place, be nice, don't make a mess, nobody, that be dressed properly, all of that kind of thing, to providing a high level of service to the artists that we were serving at that event. And I say serving because that's what we believe that we are doing when we interact with an artist on an event. We're providing a service for a client, but we are serving the other client, which in our case was the musician. And so we had a real heartfelt desire to provide an excellent level of service to our artists that were coming. And so those two things combined helped us to gain a reputation.
And having been on the musician side, I can tell you when you show up to a gig and you see the name, stenciled on the road case, you have a reaction.
Right.
Sometimes it's like,
right.
Oh, cool. They're
Right.
doing sound tonight. That's
Right.
great.
And we used to get that a lot, and we still do as SeeHear. We still get that a lot. So that's one of the keys. I mean, if you're going to make inroads with people, the most basic thing that you can do with another person, whether you're trying to establish a business relationship, a personal relationship, or whatever, is to first establish that trust that I'm here to not only provide you a good service, but to go above and beyond for you, and I'm not going to let you down.
Right.
And then even in the situations, you'll learn where you do inadvertently let someone down. It's not as difficult to overcome.
Yeah. So your business that you started got bought by SeeHear.
Correct.
You moved up the food chain there. I want to talk a little bit about the SeeHear. So how many full-time employees does SeeHear have?
We currently have 16. Pre-pandemic, we were at 48.
So in your pre-pandemic version, how many sort of freelancers would you hire?
We would roll with a roster of 60 to 80 freelance engineers and technicians, including a roster of stagehands, which is general labor.
Sure.
And currently today, I just looked at the numbers before I came out today. We have 96 freelance or contractors or 1099s or whatever you want to call them, or however you want to, name the classification, set the label on our roster.
People who you call and they often say yes, but can say no if they want to.
Correct.
And yeah.
Yeah.
So when you're hiring those people, what are you looking for? And I'm asking that from the angle of, if you're looking for a gig like this, what's the thing that makes somebody stand out to you?
Well, because of SeeHear's market, obviously we need folks who are going to be presentable and have everybody at SeeHear, from the stagehand who just started yesterday, all the way up to the audio engineers and video engineers, all the way up to the project managers who are part of the SeeHear staff, have the potential and a good potential to be client-facing. Yeah. And our clients are,
True breeze.
Yeah, they're right. And so in order to be client-facing in our world, I mean, we need you to be able to communicate. We need you to be presentable. And I mean, beyond those two things, it really just comes down to work ethic. We want to see you coming out on the jobs and smile on your face and working hard and basically pitching in where we need you to and asking what's next. And it's just that drive and that ambition to, to get the show to the starting point, which is the finishing point for the crew,
right.
So.
Do most of the audio and video engineers start as stagehands? Like,
Yes.
Is that the path working your way up?
Yes.
What's the moment where you find out if someone can mix? Right, like
it's usually by accident, or it's usually not planned. That's not technically that's not true. The way it happens is we'll have a certain percentage of our stagehands that are interested, obviously, in moving up into the technical side of things. A lot of the folks that we have on our staff right now, incidentally, have come from Loyola's program. We have many at this point that have come from this program. So what happens is you get your foot in the door as a stagehand, you start unloading trucks and carrying truss and lights around and doing whatever needs to be done, putting up pipe and drape, moving furniture, whatever needs to happen, until that break in the day where the stagehand work kind of falls off and it becomes more technical in nature. Then you see some stagehands that like to go ahead and go on their way or go take a break or whatever. And then you see the others who are interested in the technical aspects of it start to gravitate over towards the lighting guys, start to gravitate over towards the sound folks, the video engineers. Those ladies are really good, and they start to gravitate towards the areas of technical interest that they have. And the engineers know this, and so they're waiting for that, right? And so what they're doing is they're working and they're almost not really paying attention to the fact that you're there as a stagehand. But they know you're there and they want to teach you how to do what it is that we do. Yeah. And so you'll get over to what it is that you're interested in and you'll start asking questions or talking about whatever. And we've had instances where that's happened, and we've been in the middle of the show and looked across the room at front of house and said, "What is that guy doing on the console?" Yeah. And the audio engineer says, "Yeah, he knows what he's doing. Leave him alone." And from that point forward, there's an audio engineer. No more stagehand work. Right. So that's one way it could happen. The other way is, we could hire or pick up people directly as engineers or technicians. And in that case, we put you right into the situation with the lead lighting or lead video or lead audio person. And then they come back and tell us how you did. And that's it. So if you don't have to start out as a stagehand. If you have expertise in lighting or video or sound, you can come to us and say that, and we can put you into those situations.
People ask me, how do you get X kind of gig? And I usually say, hang out with the people who have those gigs. If you want to play trombone in the band that plays at that bar, go buy the trombone player a beer after, because one night he's going to have another gig and he's going to need somebody.
Right.
Or,
that's right.
if you want to do sound at X Club, meet the sound person.
That's right.
You know. The video thing is fascinating to me, because I sort of come from audio and music space. What was that learning curve like? Coming from an audio thing to then having, being in charge of these huge video productions and LED walls and all that. Like, how did you learn those things?
I didn't. I didn't. I hired video engineers. Really, video. Anybody in here, by show of hands, anybody know video? Anybody that can take anybody ever worked on an LED video wall or set up a projector array or anything like that? Projectors? No? Okay. Let me tell you something right now, and this just if you learn that, you'll make a lot of money. I said it. If you learn video, you'll make a lot of money. There you go. If you can do it. It's difficult. There's a lot of mathematics involved, which I'm not afraid of the math, but there's a lot of math involved. There, scaling of video content, that sort of stuff. I mean, guys, I brought in a PowerPoint today and gave it to the tech team, and they took my PowerPoint, which when my person at the company handed it to me, they said, "This is good to go. It's ready to go." They still had to put it in the computer and make changes to it to make it work on this system. So it's similar, but video is difficult. It's not easy. You have to, when you calculate pixels and you have to get images to line up and match up, it's very hard.
I have a computer musician friend who does some video stuff. And his wife always wants him to projection map the house on Halloween. He's like, yeah, that's not why I learned how to do this.
Yeah.
But, so let's see if y'all always come up with better questions than I do. Maybe we can get a little bit of light. What would you like to know about big event space? Yeah. Were you raising your hand? Yes.
You need to step into it first, some kind of way. And I mean, if the question is how do I step into it, then if you want to step into it in the production world, doing big shows and festivals and things like that, probably your best bet is to try to step in somewhere as a stagehand. Just get into the environment where you can get close to the audio engineers, because they're the ones that are ultimately going to give you the opportunity to put your hands on a board at some point or another. But there are a lot of different ways to do it. For example, I started off in church. So if you go to church, if you don't go to church, just because you don't go to church doesn't mean that a church doesn't need a sound person or a lighting person or a video person. And they have those opportunities. Now, those are volunteer opportunities, right, most of the time. But you can get your hands on a console that way. And you can operate that way, and you can get practice with it that way.
And if you can chase feedback in a church, you can mix anywhere.
Yeah, you really can. That's true.
'Cause that is not the easiest setting to do live sound.
The other way to do it is to find a band and that's looking for a sound person and kind of get in there and mess around with them. A lot of the things that you're going to have to do in the very beginning are going to involve you doing them for little or no pay. But the idea is to get your hands on that equipment and learn how to use it. You're looking for opportunities to get your hands on that equipment because it's very expensive equipment. It's not something you can go and just buy. I will say that to this forum that if there's anyone who's ever interested and would like to come out and get hands-on time on any production piece of equipment, you're welcome to come to our shop if you're a member of this forum. You can come to my shop. You have to come to Covington.
But you get to go by the Abita Brewery when you leave.
Come on Fridays, and you'll wind up staying in Covington all weekend. We go to, we have those consoles, and if they're available, we have Midas sound consoles, Midas M32s, M32Rs, SC48 DigiDesign, and occasionally we have some SD7s and SD10s in house whenever we're doing things from Digico, of course.
That gets to an interesting question. How much of the gear you use on these big shows is stuff you own versus stuff you rent for a particular event?
So renting, just percentage-wise, 80% we own.
You own. Do y'all rent gear to other people?
Yes. Yes, occasionally. That's not really our forte, but if people who are in the business who we know, right, or who know us, we'll never turn down a rental if the equipment is available.
Yeah, if I'm not using it
if it's
this
in the
weekend,
warehouse and it can go out, we can rent it if we're not using it this weekend. But the rental game is an interesting game, and just since you brought it up, just 2 minutes on that. Any gear that you're going to own has to have enough of a return on investment to meet your financial goals. So we try to own things that we can flip a lot, that we can rent a lot, or put out on our shows a lot, so that we maximize our return on investment. This is a business principle that you should be aware of if you're going to be, owning any of your own equipment at any given time. Rent the things that cost a lot of money and that are obsolete in 3 years. Buy the things that may cost a lot of money, but that you can rent 100 times in a year. Yeah. Did I get your question? Come to the shop. You can mess around with the consoles.
Is that Owen raising his hand? Yeah.
First day?
Or first show. You come in as a stagehand. What are they going to ask you to do?
A lot of heavy lifting and sweaty work. That's it. What they're going to be looking for, and just very directly, is for your ability to do what you're told, pretty much. And I don't mean that in a rude way, y'all. I really don't. But at that point, you're going to be coming in working for a supervisor, and you're going to want to be able to do what the supervisor tells you to do. They're going to be looking for you to always be standing there when they need something. If they turn around and go, they're looking for you to be, what do you need? They're looking for you to be on the back of the truck. And mainly, I can tell you one big thing that I look for, and I'm there at 4 o'clock in the morning when we've still got 26 feet of truck to load, right? I'm looking for the smiling faces. Does that make sense? Did I answer your question? Yeah.
The first time we did a show at the House of Blues with all the pop-com ensembles, which was, 5 or 6 or more years ago now. It was in the parish room. It was before we were doing it in the big room. And we brought most of our own PA and backline, and our students were doing sound. And somehow I ended up driving the van with the gear and managing the team of our students who were going to load into the club. And so we got there and parked on the sidewalk. And I looked at them all and I said, okay, for the next hour, I'm not going to say please and thank you, and I'm not mad at you, but I'm just going to bark orders because we got to get this done. And it was nice and efficient, and they were all cool. And at the end, we all went and had a Diet Coke, and everybody was friendly. But it was kind of that thing of okay, where is somebody?
Right.
This needs to be over there.
Right.
And they did a good job. They've all graduated now, so.
We know just as much about who's not standing there as we do about who's standing there. And the ones that are there are the ones that make the difference. I don't think that that's unique to the business of music or to the music industry. I think that's a life principle. I think that if you apply yourself, no matter what you do, no matter how menial you may think the task is, or how beneath you may think the task is, if you take accountability for your task and you own it and you apply yourself, you're going to get recognized. And it's the same thing in our world as it is in any other world that you could potentially work in. So on your first day of work, put a smile on your face. Do what the supervisor asks you to do. Ask when you can come back. Ask if you can hang around during the show. After the hands are cut, say, can I hang around? Can I go sit in front of house? Or can I watch the monitor engineer? Or can I just be here in case you need anything? No charge. You do that in any career you pick, any job you pick. I don't care if you work at, I don't care where you work. That's going to get you ahead.
I had a brief stint as a shoe salesman in the Gwinnett County Mall in the
Shoes,
90s.
Perhaps?
No, it was Easy Spirit, actually.
I worked at Kenny Shoes.
But you're right, showing up with a smile on your face at 8:30 to like sell the old ladies the shoes. Like I had a key to the store pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Gabe, did you have a question? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Well, I mean, turning a profit, there's a picture of one up here where the client spent $1 million just on the flowers when we were talking about that a little
And so
earlier.
you'll see it. She's standing like on a plexiglass thing, and there's flowers under the singer's feet.
And I have to apologize to her because I do not remember her name, but she is national talent. I cannot remember her name. But if somebody knows it, holler it out. She's wearing a pink dress.
It's 2 slides from now. That one, yeah.
Hudson, Jennifer Hudson.
Yeah.
That's it, Hudson. That's it. I don't know who said it first.
I was going to say Patti LaBelle, but
You
I
get
knew
a job
she was
as a
younger than
stagehand,
that.
whoever said it first. Be at work tomorrow. I'm sorry. Okay, so turning a profit. How do you turn a profit, right? So not easily. Turning a profit is, I mean, it's all based on cost control, controlling your costs in or your costs out versus your revenue in. That's the fundamental mathematics behind what a profit is. And so every hard cost that we have, including our overheads and our insurance and all of that sort of thing, are factored into our pricing that goes out with our marketing folks. And so pricing is according to, I mean, we calculate it basically. I mean, we know what kind of a profit margin we're shooting for when we bid the deal, right? Or when we bid the proposal. And then we negotiate from there and until we reach either an acceptable or an unacceptable, profit arrangement. But it's a lot of, I mean, even more to the point, it's a lot of spreadsheets and it's a lot of looking at those costs. And it's kind of like, stirs my heart as an engineer because we get it down to the, I'd take it out to 6 digits if I could. But obviously there's no need to, but that's how you do it. And a knowledge of your business operation is fundamental, is key to that as well. I mean, you have to be aware of what your hard costs are, not only on a per show. Shows are typically variable cost related, and there's an element of a fixed cost like your salaries and your rent and your things like that go into the calculation for, well, a show is a contribution margin. You have a fixed cost, and you have to calculate all of the percentages of that stuff across all of your shows, which is a back calculation. I don't know if I'm going down the right road here or not. I'm just trying to, but it just comes down to real fine, a real high awareness and real fine awareness and control of costs out versus revenue in.
And even as an individual musician, knowing how much it costs you to do something. You take a gig in Lafayette. Okay, how much is much does it cost to put gas in my car to get from here to Lafayette and back? Right, like that's a thing you can figure out.
I think that's a better answer, because typically what I'm looking at is moving gear in multiple 18-wheelers all over the country and flying crews and it's very large, scale type of stuff, and those numbers are fed up to me in the form of spreadsheets and things like that. But I think this is the better answer, which is to say that it comes down to every little cost that you could have, and that's important to you too, as a if you're going to be a traveling musician, or if you're going to tour, or if you're going to take a show out on the road, or anything that you're going to do. I mean, heck, we can take the example of one of the shows that we talked about during the announcements, the coffee shop show, for example. I mean, how many miles is it from your house to the coffee shop and back? How much does that cost? How much in gas? And I mean, this is getting kind of funny because it's right across town. I mean, who really thinks about that? But really think about that, and you can get down to, okay, well, once I do that and I take out all my costs and I add back in what they're going to pay me, now how much money am I going to make? And that's how you preserve your profit margin long term, and that's how you build up the wealth, I guess, of or the bank account. Sure. Is by knowing those numbers.
Ben.
Yes, it depends on, the answer is yes to both of those questions. It depends on what it is that's going on. Typically, if we have a wedding that has 10 or 12 lights that are going, we'll allow the lighting designer to go out and do what we refer to it as busking, right? And that's where the LD just goes out and we give them, programming time a few hours before the show starts, and they set a few looks and and things like that. And then when the band plays, they just roll with the music and do flashy, blinky, spinny stuff, around. For more complicated designs, we may bring in a lighting designer to the shop and do pre-visualization, which is where they set up a console with a computer that will control, where we can actually add in computer-generated, light fixtures that have all of the DMX characteristics and all of the, the personalities and things like that of the actual fixture. And we'll 3D model the stage. By the way, if anybody in here is into graphic design, we hire graphic designers. If you're into 3D modeling, we hire 3D modelers. That kind of stuff is very, very useful and becoming more, there's more of it that is making itself available in the production world. It's not just sound and lights. But anyway, so to answer the question, we'll 3D model the stage and build the stage out and let the lighting designers come in and do their work there. No, we never. No. Okay. Yes, there are bands and talent that bring in their own lighting and audio and video engineers, for that matter. When they do, our engineers get out of the way and hand it over to them. We become system techs, if you will, right? We're there for the support of the system itself to make sure that everything's operating correctly. And these are, in situations like that, these are, immensely technical, very large systems. And so we would have to have a system tech there anyway. Right. But when they bring in their own engineers, we step back. And typically we've built the system to what's known as their technical rider. You guys are familiar with that. They'll tell us what consoles they want, what fixtures they want. Sometimes they'll even give us a plot. And to the extent that they give us information, we do it exactly the way that they want it to, and when they get there, we step away. Same thing for audio and video.
I ran into a friend at the Psychedelic Furs show at Tips the other night. Engineer friend of mine was like, "Hey man, what are you doing?" He's like, "Oh, I'm the monitor engineer, but they brought a great monitor engineer, so I'm just standing here making sure stuff doesn't break." Pretty much, he was hanging out because they have their person who knows who wants what in their ears,
And that typically when you get to the national level, that's what you have. I mean, you get much more than semi-national, and folks aren't going to come in and allow our engineers to busk a show for them, for example, right? They have their cues and they have their shows, and it's rehearsed, and they do it themselves. Some of them are just busking guys when it comes to lighting, but if it's their guy, it's their guy.
Anyone else? All right, one more. What's something you wish you knew when you started this endeavor that you learned along the way? He's thinking of all the stories he can't tell you right now.
I'm just thinking of all the things that, because I started in my garage, so I wish I knew all of it. But, it was difficult. I think what I would have liked to have known sooner was would actually go to the question about cost control and things like that. I think that when entrepreneurs typically start out, and in fact, if you read about entrepreneurialism and startups and all that kind of stuff, you find a lot of times that business fundamentals are the tripping point for a lot of startups, and I think that's because they don't have that knowledge, going into it. So, if you're thinking about starting a business in the music business, you need to know about business. You need to know things about business specifically, not the ethereal management philosophies and things like that, which you can certainly learn, and those are good for you when you're managing organizations of 15 to 50 or hundreds of people, but the specifics of accounting and finance, I think that's what tripped me up the most, was having to circle back and take a financial consequence to keep my business afloat. Yeah.
There you go. Pay attention in accounting class. You heard it here.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, y'all. How about a big hand? Thank you, Tony Corley.
Thank you. Can I listen, SeeHear Productions is hiring. We're hiring right now. There is work for every single person in this room if you're interested. We have stagehand work, lighting work, audio work, video work, graphic design work. We have all sorts of stuff. We're in and out of Louisiana all the time. We spend a lot of time up in Colorado. We spend a lot of time out in California. We spend a lot of time in Wyoming, and we spend a lot of time in South Florida. So on those semester breaks, if you're looking for something to do, give me a call. If you're interested, if you want to get your foot in the door, you can give me a call, and my offer stands. Anybody associated with this forum who is interested in coming out for a tour of our warehouses, you can come out and see our warehouses. If you want to come get your hands on a console, if we have one available, you can come out. We'll set you up a PA system right there in the middle of the warehouse. You can fool with it all day long. We don't care. All right? So if you're interested, let me know.
There you go. You know how to find him. Come on down. Thanks, y'all.